Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Stephanie. I'm a registered dietitian and sport nutritionist. And if you are an athlete or someone who is active who really wants to know more about nutrition to fuel their sport, this is the place for you. Today, we're going to be talking about your pre-workout or training session nutrition and what to be looking for and how to set that up. There's actually two main things that we focus on in that pre-workout time, and that first is, are we fueled enough for the work required? And the second one is, are we hydrated enough? The first piece there is, do we have enough fuel on board to actually have a good training session? So a lot of times when people are coming in to see me who are really struggling to get good workouts in, a lot of the times it's because their carb intake is a little bit on the low side and they might not be having enough pre and post workout in terms of that carb intake, which can significantly reduce the ability for you to push really hard in your workouts. The reason for that is because we store that carbohydrate as glycogen in our muscles. It's also in our bloodstream as our blood sugar and also in our liver. So when we do really intense and long duration workouts, the majority of our energy is coming from carbohydrate sources. If we are chronically low in our carbohydrate intake or don't really have a good pre-workout nutrition plan in place, this can lead to low glycogen levels and decrease your performance during your workouts. I like to think about our nutrition as if we are a race car. So if we are going to put the race car on the track, of course we want to make sure that when we start that race, the gas tank is full, right? So if we think of ourselves as that car, making sure that we've got enough carbs on board is really important. So that leads us to the question of, how much carb do I need? So this is also going to depend on how much carbohydrate intake that you need to be having on a daily basis. So, if you are in a low training phase, that might be something lower, like 3 grams per kilo per day. Or if you're in a really high training phase or are working out a lot, that could be upwards of 12 grams per kilo per day. So it's going to be dependent on where you're at in your training sessions and what your specific needs are. When we're thinking about that pre-workout time, we want to have about 1 to 4 grams per kilo in 1 to 4 hours pre-workout. So again, that's going to be dependent on your total carb intake, because if you're on the lower end of the scale of you're only giving your body about 3 grams per kilo per day, you can't have 4 grams per kilo within that 4 hours before your training session, because that would take you over the amount of carb that you have per day. So you have to keep that in mind when you're planning. The other thing about your pre-workout nutrition is that when you're doing your planning, you want to make sure that you've got enough time for digestion so that you don't have any GI upset when you get to your practice or your workouts. The way you can set this up is, again, it's going to be dependent on you as an individual because everybody's digestion is a little different. But typically, if you're consuming your regular meal about 2 to 4 hours before you get to your workout, that's enough time to digest the fats and the proteins in that regular style of meal. Whereas when you move closer to your workouts, you want to be focusing more on very simple and easily digested carbohydrates. For example, 2 hours before your workout, you might be able to have some chicken and rice and vegetables, maybe something like a stir fry or something along that lines. And then as you move closer to your workouts, say for example an hour to maybe 30 minutes before your workouts, this could be something like applesauce, banana, different types of fruits, more easily digested oatmeal or crackers that would give you a little bit of a boost of nutrition before you get into your workout to top up those fuel sources. In your pre-workout, are there things that we need to be avoiding? Sometimes, depending on your digestion, some people find that high protein, high fat, and high fiber foods close to your workouts do not work. So we want to make sure that we are eliminating some of those things prior to your workout. Again, if those things are consumed that 2 to 4 hours before, you shouldn't have any issues, but that will be dependent on you specifically. Other things that might not be tolerated very well pre-workout might be dairy as well. Some people just have a really hard time with that really close to their workouts. So again, that might need to be only consumed 2 hours before your workouts. The second piece to all of this is your hydration. general recommendations is that we want to be consistently sipping on fluids throughout the day so that we're hydrated when we get to our workouts. And that's because we don't want to be drinking a lot of fluid all at once pre-workout, because that's going to sit in your stomach, it's not going to be absorbed as well, and it's going to create that sloshing type of feeling in your belly, which is not going to be comfortable for you. A good way to make sure that you're hydrating well throughout the day is making sure that your urine color is a light straw color. That is going to be indicating that you're pretty well hydrated. And then if you have a darker, more apple juice, apple cider type of color, which is darker yellow, that is going to be indicating that you might need to be drinking a little bit more fluid to stay hydrated. In the hour leading up to your workouts, maybe even 2 hours before, you can be sipping on about 500 milliliters of water or some sort of a fluid like milk or juice pre-workout to make sure that you are hydrating well leading into that last hour before your workout. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!